This is Gregory Shavers. This is my first Android tutorial. It's going to be one of many tutorials I'm going to put on my website, hustleandtech.com. Just wanted to, you know, teach not only well, I wanted to, teach people how to, write code, more specifically in the Black community, and to also reinforce my knowledge to make sure I'm able to actually know the material. So we're going to make a very simple Android app. It's going to have two buttons, true and false, and a text field, and it's just gonna it's just gonna be a question, and it's gonna be true or false. And if it's true or either false, it's gonna show an answer, and we're gonna use some type of we're gonna use a notification that pops up called a toast message, but we'll get into that later on. So I'm going to create a new project. Now I have another screen on my Mac. I'm going to just focus on the main screen. So if you don't see anything, you'll see something in a minute. So give me just a second. Let me go to new projects. I'll bring this up here. And we're going to call this tutorial 1. By the way, if my spelling is sometimes wrong, just know I'm a horrible speller. Just want to just let you guys know. And we're going to put it in my Android Studios project under users and my name. I have a couple other projects in here. I'm going to click OK. And we're going to hit next. We're going to use the minimum SDK. The minimum SDK is the minimum version of people running Android. This one is going to be Android 4.1 Jelly Bean. About 78% of users run this, so we have a good majority of people that run this Android application. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. All right, so we're gonna hit next. Hit blank activity and hit next. We use this plain main activity. We're gonna hit finish, and it's loading on my screen. I'm gonna pull this. Oh, I can't pull it up, so I'm gonna let this run on my other screen, and then here it comes. It comes up, and I'm gonna maximize it, and we're in the code. So I'm gonna go zoom in, and perfect. We're actually where we need to be. Excuse me, guys. So I'm going to start with the design. We'll close this. With Android, you can. There is a drag and drop option or feature in Android that allows you to drop and add buttons, text box, radio buttons, password, emails. Shows a layout, which we will discuss in a few. It allows efficiency of creating apps. If anybody's familiar with Program, or even in my case, I'm more a Java developer. You know, Writing an extensive amount of code can be very time consuming because you're writing the same code over and over again, and especially with programming, because you're automating things. You want to make things, you would even want to make your code automated. So if you're doing the same thing over and over again, you want to program that. So it's almost like this: you want to pre-program your buttons to do the things that it's supposed to do. So I need to switch this to 21 because this is the device we're going to run. I don't know why 6.0 doesn't work, but I'll figure that out eventually. So we have our main screen, and we're going to go. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to drag. We're going to use this. We're not going to focus on this too much. We're going to focus on the design, but I'm just going to go ahead and drag the. Let me see what layout we need. Okay, we're going to drag the linear layout vertical. So I'm just going to just drag it, and I'm just going to leave this right here. Actually, we'll delete this. Can we delete this over here? I'll put this up top now. Actually, yeah, we need to actually delete we'll delete this. We should be able to delete. Yeah, delete. We're going to delete the text box, and we can't delete the relative layout. So we need to go to the XML file. This is actually where the code. This is the code for your design itself. So right now it's on a relative layout. We're just gonna just delete this, and we're just gonna have a blank canvas. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna copy some code that I already have written out because it is a lot of code to write, and we're gonna paste it, and copy this, pretty much closing it, and this is our relative layout. So we have the width, the height, the gravity, and orientation. Width and height is pretty pretty straightforward. You know, we want to match it to the parent. The parent is actually the entire device itself. You want to put it in the center, and you want the orientation, which is going to be your widgets, to be vertical. So up and down, it's almost like a face. You have your eyes, and then below that you have your nose, and then below that you have your mouth and chin, and so on. So after that, we're going to actually add some buttons and text boxes. So I'm going to drag a text box. Well, actually, really a text view. And add this text view here. Perfect. We added a small text. And we're going to add a button. I'm just doing this just for now, just to get you guys comfortable with using this. Where is my button? Oh, here we go. Widgets. Here we go, button. We're going to use this a normal button. I'm going to put a button right here. We're going to put a small button right here too. Now we're going to put these buttons in a linear layout. So we're going to put it above here, and put this in here, and put this in here, and then boom, we have our buttons and layout. So I'm going to leave this alone for now because, like I said, this is once you start adding buttons and text boxes, they can get a little manually moving. This GUI takes a long time, and it's just a lot more better to modify the code. So I have some pre-code already written out for us. So we're gonna leave the wrap content the same, and actually we need to change something here. We need to change the padding. We're gonna add something called the padding. I think I used the wrong text view, which is fine. I'm gonna add a padding. We're gonna leave that small text, and we're gonna change this ID in just a second. And we're gonna go to our linear layout. We need to change this to wrap the content underscore content, and actually that's our orientation. I'm sorry guys, I have to change this to horizontal. I'm looking at my code below to make this tutorial a lot smoother. And we're gonna make the layout width and height wrap content, perfect. And we're going to also make sure our button's the same. We're going to check here. So the button is fine to wrap content. Yeah, both of these are fine. Not quite sure why this style is here. We're going to delete that. And we're going to, actually, we don't want the layout gravity at all. We want to delete that. That actually makes how our button appears. And we have an error. Tag start is not closed. Tag start is not closed. Let's do this. We'll fix this in just a second. I know why. We need to close this. All right, now we're all set. So after we modify our XML file, you can see, boom, we have a beautiful layout. So it's a lot easier to modify and to position and even lay out your GUI on the XML. I mean, it's okay to drop it in and add it, but you know, if you really want to get it to where you want the app to visually look, you just I recommend modifying the XML file. So we're gonna add some text now. So, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and copy what I have below here. Hold on 1 second, guys. We're going to paste it, and so we're going to put Constantinople is the largest city in Turkey, which is not true, but this is the whole point of the app. So, and then we're going to change this as well. We're going to make this true and false. True and false. So I keep going, I need a nap. So we'll go back to our design, and as you can see, it's been changed. Now, if you hover over our button, you notice even our text view, you notice there's a little slightly error. Just click on it and it says I'm sorry. I'm not going to click it, we're just going to select it. Hard-coded string, and then it gives our string name, should use a string resource. So a string resource, or really any resources, allows your app to be created more efficiently, or to really contain your some of the items, some of the personality your app is going to have. I'm not quite sure why Google are using resources. I need to look into that, but it allows you to know certain personalities, like where is your sound being stored, or where is your string of this text box or this button is being stored. It shows you where, you know, different personality of your app is being saved or stored. So for this instance, we can still keep it like this. By the way, this is fine. Like if you load the app, it'll show it, but it's always good to use the resource. So we're gonna click the string XML, and we're gonna actually focus using the XML to make our changes. So we're gonna delete this hello world because this hello world is no longer here. We deleted that. That's one string resource. And we're gonna add a string resource. We're going to not only name the resource, but we're gonna actually assign that name to a some type of, you know, to our text. So we're gonna put question underscore text, and we're gonna say Constantinople is the largest city in Turkey. Make sure I spell Constantinople right. C-O-N-S-T. Oops, there we go. C-O-N-S-T-A-N-T-Noble. Constantinople. Oops. Like I told you guys, I'm a horrible speller. So yeah, alright. So Constantinople is the largest city in Turkey. So after that, I'm sorry, yawn again. And we're gonna add the string. We're gonna add the button. We're gonna name our buttons true underscore button. And we'll close that bracket. We'll fix this in just a second. I know it's going to show errors, but I'm going to explain another concept as well. I want you guys to be able to slowly be able to implement things in your app. So it's almost like if anybody ever took math, you know, you have different types of formulas and different types of procedures you can do to solve problems. And you know, I want to break down each formula so you guys can understand what's going on with the app, so you can have a better understanding of, you know, creating apps. So we're gonna do the string as well, and I know we still have an error. It's a valid resource name, but we're gonna get all of this fixed. Don't worry. So the reason why this error is here and this error is here is because this ID, because this is actually a name or an ID for the string, is not even being used or even being associated. So make sure my code is good. So what we're gonna do is we need to go back to our XML, not our string XML, but our XML for our activity. This is the activity. And we need to change the activity for each button. So the true button, hold on one moment, let me just make sure I write this correctly. Oh my gosh. Alright, so what we can do is we're gonna name our true ID, because remember we named it in our string XML. We're gonna do at plus ID, and then we're gonna put the name of that ID, true underscore button. And we're gonna do the same for our other button. It's gonna be false. We're gonna name it false underscore button. And if you go back to our string XML, oh, still an error message. It's still there. Okay. Let's see here. User error. We need to actually equal this. We need to equal this. So we equal the string resource, this string name, with an ID, and then associate that ID with a name, with a variable it's holding. So we'd actually kill two birds with one stone, because once we modify the string resource, we modified our button as well, because now our button actually tells what to show for the text. So what you can do is you go to design, the error message is still there. I know we did it right. I know what we did. We need to actually, because it's still hard coded, we need to actually make that text equal that ID. So what we're really doing is just making the text equal the ID, and the text that equals to the ID is either true or false. So we're gonna actually do at string / true button, and we're gonna do that for well as for the false string / with false button. So you have the syntax is for text, which is the at string, and this syntax is for at ID. And if you go over here, XML file, a UI, the error messages are actually gone. This is going to be a different error message. Actually, it's not a different error message. The error message is still here. Hold on, let's see if we refresh this and see if it goes away now. Alright, so just take my word as this is how you're supposed to do it. I don't know why this error message is still showing up, because that's how you're supposed, to create resources. Supposed to use a string and resources, because that's just how Android made it that way. So I don't know why this is still the way it is. We're gonna move on with the tutorial. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to have our button respond. So I'm going to go increase our code, well, zoom in to see our code. So when you click the button, you expect the button to respond to you. So when the button responds, it's either going to say correct or incorrect. So we need to actually activate our widgets to be able to click. So I'm going to go to my other screen I have, and we need to actually create a button object to be precise. And hold on one moment. Gonna create the button object. And the reason why we have this is we need to import our file. So the easiest thing we could do using Mac, sorry I don't have a Windows, so I don't know the command for Windows. But you do, oops, that wasn't it. You do Command Shift. The Command Shift. Supposed to be Command Shift. I don't know why it doesn't work. Okay, whatever. You can always just import it. Import the button. Import Android dot. You'd actually know the name of that library. Widget dot button. And then our error messages are gone. So the next thing we're going to do is actually associate the button ID of the button with our object. Because we already named our button object over here, which is this, we can go over here, and we're going to do this on the onCreate method. Go to mTrueButton. I'm going to concatenate this button, and we're going to find the button by the ID. True button. Oops. We're going to do the same thing for false. Sorry for my squeaky chair. False button. Alright. So we created our buttons. We associated our buttons on the GUI with the actual buttons in our code. And now we need to actually make the buttons do something. Actually click. So what we're going to do is we're going to set an on-click listener. An on-click listener, think of an on-click listener as it listens or reacts when something is happening with your button when you touch it on the Android app. or on the screen itself. So it pretty much listens for something. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do m true that set on click listener, and the syntax is going to be a little confusing, and we're going to do new view dot on click listener, and it's going to actually create another method for you. We're going to do the same thing for here. So instead of naming m true, we're going to do an m false button. Do m false button. Perfect. Oops. Go on. Perfect. So now we're going to have something pop up when the button is clicked. So when we click, if this city, Constantinople, is the largest city in Turkey, we want something to show or to happen. Anything. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna just have a little notification pop up that comes up. On most Android devices, you've probably seen them. It's just a little. It's called a toast message. It's just a random pop up that comes up just to let you know, of a change or an update or anything at all. It just randomly pops up. I'm going to show you in just a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to, instead of writing the code first, we're going to go ahead and go back to the XML. Like I said, guys, the XML, using the resources is going to be your best friend, because you're gonna it's going to make your code a lot more efficient. When it comes to using resources like strings and sounds and images, like this is going to be like the go-to person for creating, allowing your GUI to interact with your Java code. Because once you get the XML to work, your Java code is gonna you won't have any issues with pulling the resources when you run it with your Java code. So we're gonna go to string name, and we're going to, hold on one moment. Alright guys, I keep yawning so much, I'm not even sleepy. We're going to string name equals false. Actually, we're going to name this correct underscore toast. I'm going to close that, and it's going to show a correct answer. We're going to do the same thing for string name false. We're going to call this incorrect. This toast is incorrect, spelled incorrectly. Okay, so why is this error message here? Let's see why. I'm just curious on why this error message is here. Like I said, guys, I'm still learning too, so videos to help you, not only to help you, but also to help me as well. I know why. Be very, very careful with syntax. We need to close. We need to have a greater, a less than, and a greater. And there goes my error message. Perfect. So we're going to go back to our Java code now. And we're going to start making our toast object. So to make the notification comes up, we're gonna call a method called toast.make text. And the make text has three fields. They have a content, which is going to be our activity. It's going to have a pretty much a string, which it's going to show our ID, which is going to be either incorrect or false, and then it's going to show the length of how long it's supposed to show up. So because this is going to be tutorial 1, I'm going to say, what's the name of activity? Is it quiz? No, it's actually, our name is activity. So it's going to be activity underscore name. ACTIVITY underscore. Oh, actually, hold on, guys. It's going to be. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. It's gonna actually be. From our actual Java code. It's gonna be. Yeah, it's gonna be this file. That I'm gonna put that this. We want this to be the file. And then we're going to make our string incorrect. Actually, we're gonna use the ID for this. We're not gonna hard code it. So because we already named it in our string resource, we're gonna say r dot string dot incorrect underscore toast. And we're going to have it show our toast object. So toast, and we're going to show a short message. We're not going to show a long message. We're going to show a short message. So to make this code more simpler, and by the way, you can do this, because the syntax this line of code is very long. You can just drop it down, and it won't give you any type of error messages. I learned that it helps to know what's going on, because sometimes you'll have a method that's just like that takes the entire line. That takes the entire line because there's so much going on. And because this is the same thing for here, we're going to copy and paste. Like I say, guys, a lot of this stuff is going to be repetitive. If you're doing one thing for one piece of object or a button, you're going to do it for another widget. So let me actually do this. Let me go back. I messed up somewhere. Let's do this. We're gonna actually need this piece of line of code. We're gonna copy this. And we're going to make this I'm gonna make this incorrect. Well, correct, I'm sorry. I'll make this correct. And the message is gonna be short. And that's actually it. We're actually done running our app. Like I said, this app is gonna be pretty standard. Let me go over this again. So we have our button, which is gonna be private, because we don't want our people to change the code. We're going to associate the button with the widget on the screen. We're going to set an on-click listener to allow the button to listen to see if anything happens on the widget. And then we're going to make it do something. When it clicks, it's going to take this piece of code. It's going to take that ID, which is going to show what that string equals to, and it's going to display a very short message. So something I always recommend you guys do is run your Android app first. I'm gonna close this out. I'm gonna let this run for you, just to show you that I'm running a different Android emulator than you guys. Give me just a second, guys. We just lost our window. Let me just close this. Bring this back up. Okay, there we go. And we're gonna run this app. Actually, we're gonna run the emulator. So I use Genymotion because it runs faster. It's just smoother. And then it's gonna start. Just starting the virtual device. And I'm gonna let this run. Perfect. Gonna minimize this a little bit. Depending on your computer, this can take up to like 10-15 minutes. But my MacBook is pretty. It's decent, you know. It's not like a desktop, but it's just pretty decent. And I'm gonna let this run. It doesn't take too long. Alright, we're done. And then I'm going to click this Run App button. And to let you guys know something else, a lot of these notifications actually mean something. These event logs and these messages, they all mean something. So I always recommend you guys to look and see if there's any error messages. I mean, these are what the tools are for. It's to let you know if something goes wrong. I know all of this is a little intimidating, but the more you use it, the more it's going to be comfortable using it. Because right now, it's telling you it's installing the device. It's compiling the code. See, it's bringing up some other information, and directories get what's going on there, but it's almost done. And we're going to choose the device because we already have that device running. And because the device is already running, it's just going to install it straight off the device. And boom, our app. So it's Constantinople. I'll read it. Constantinople is the largest city in Turkey. Obviously, if you took history, you know Constantinople was the Roman city that's now in Istanbul. So actually, that's kind of true, but it's false. Right now it's Istanbul. So this is actually false. And as you can see, we have some technical delays because it's not showing up. So we need to see why. This is good. So, alright, so we need to figure out why this is not popping up. Alright, everything looks fine from what I see. Let me see something actually. Let me see true. Let me see. Okay. Alright, that's not working. So I'm going to pause this video for now. And I'll come right back.